Good morning, scholars. Mr. Scholl here. I have my iPad ready to go for our lesson for today. I will be screencasting it, and I want to pick up with where we left off on Friday. Now, on Friday, I did a little bit of an introduction video into subunit vaccines and a little bit of an overview of how they're produced. And I told you that this week we'd be going into further detail on the production of a subunit vaccine. So that's what we will be doing today. So go ahead, take notes right alongside with me, and let's get to it. The first thing I want to talk about when we're talking about the subunit vaccine production procedure is we need to talk about plasmids, because plasmids are used during this procedure. And when you hear that word plasmid, your mind should go all the way back to competency 2, talking about bacteria. So to answer the question where, there we go. To answer the question where are plasmids naturally found, the answer is that they're found in bacteria cells. Remember that bacteria cells have two potential forms of DNA. They have their genomic DNA. The genomic DNA was the large, clunky nucleoid. That's a majority of their genes are going to be stored in that genomic DNA, also known as the chromosomes. That's kind of the large, clunky genetic molecule. But bacteria cells have another form of DNA called and I didn't leave myself enough room here. They have another form of DNA called a plasmid. Now you should remember from Comp 2 that a plasmid is a small circular piece of DNA. So why are plasmids commonly used by genetic engineers? Well, it all comes down to kind of the definition I just gave of a plasmid. It's a small circular piece of DNA. So because it's a small piece of DNA, that means that it's actually pretty simple. Most plasmids just have a couple genes on them. Remember, a gene is a region of DNA that codes for a protein to be produced, is going to ultimately influence a trait in an organism. So because plasmids are small and circular, they're really simple. They only have a couple genes on them. Another important factor about a plasmid is that they are, they are easily absorbed by bacteria. So bacteria are able to absorb those plasmids, and you will see why that matters when we go over the genetic engineering procedure. This last question we're actually going to answer at the end of this activity. So I'm going to move over here to this little image I have called the anatomy of a plasmid. So right here I have a circular piece of DNA. This is representing my plasmid, and we're going to draw a little map here. We're going to be highlighting some regions on the plasmid. The first region I want to highlight, I'm going to show it being up here. I'm going to label it as I'm going to label it as the origin of replication. So cells constantly need to make copies of their DNA, right? So for a plasmid, the origin of replication means that this is the site on the plasmid that replication will begin. If a plasmid does not have an origin of replication, or if its origin of replication gets a mutation in it, that plasmid is no longer going to be able to make copies of itself. Let's highlight a couple other regions on this plasmid. I'm going to go ahead, pick a different color here. Okay. Plasmids are commonly where we find genes for antibiotic resistance. So I'm going to highlight another region of this plasmid. I'm going to label it as gene for antibiotic resistance. So a lot of a lot of plasmids have on them a gene for antibiotic resistance. That's going to matter when it comes to our procedure that I'm about to show you. So now that we've kind of reviewed plasmids a little bit, let's go back over our goals for what we're trying to have happen during our procedure today. Alrighty, so our big goal is going to be to create, a subunit vaccine. That is our big goal. So how do we achieve this goal? I am so glad that you asked. Let's see if it'll let me type in here. There we go. How do we achieve this goal? We need bacteria to produce pathogen proteins for us. Okay, so in this procedure, we're going to be utilizing bacteria cells to do the work for us. This is kind of what we were talking about in the lesson on Friday. Sorry, my screen got frozen there for a quick second, so I had to pause there. So our big goal is going to be to create a subunit vaccine. Now you should recall, right, that all the subunit vaccine is its pathogen proteins. All right. So how do we achieve this goal? We need bacteria to produce pathogen proteins for us. So what our mini goal is going to be is we want to insert pathogen DNA into a bacteria cell. Now, why would we want to insert pathogen DNA into a bacteria cell? It is because, I'm going to zoom in here, when the bacteria cell does protein synthesis, it will make pathogen proteins. This is all going back to the video that I posted on Friday, where basically what we're trying to do is to trick bacteria cells into making pathogen proteins for us. Because once these pathogen proteins are made, they can be bottled up, and those are our subunit vaccine. So what I'm going to do in the space below is outline how scientists do those steps. Now, this video program I use only allows me to record 15-minute videos, so I might have to pause partway through and upload a second video, so just be ready for that. Before I do that, let's go ahead and shrink down this text. Oopsie. Alrighty, sorry about that. Just wanted to shrink down the text a little bit. So what I'm going to draw in the space below is I'm going to show you guys how we get bacteria cells to produce pathogen proteins for us. I'm going to show you how we insert pathogen DNA into a bacteria cell. Okay, so let's start off with this first box here. I'm going to title this box as the main players. So I'm going to show you kind of our key ingredients in this procedure. Our first key ingredient is we are going to be using a plasmid. Now a plasmid is a small circular piece of DNA. I'm going to draw it as DNA, which is double-stranded, right? So I'm actually going to draw the detail here of it being a double-stranded DNA molecule with base pairing occurring between our two strands. And I'm going to go ahead and label that as plasmid DNA. Okay. Now, there is another form of DNA that we're going to be using in this procedure, and it has to be the DNA of the disease that we're trying to create a vaccine for. So let's say we're trying to create a vaccine for bacterial meningitis. We would need to be able to get DNA from that pathogen, from bacterial meningitis. So what I'm going to show here is I'm going to draw another form of DNA, just linear DNA, and I'm going to label that as pathogen DNA. All right. There are a couple other key players in this procedure. I'm going to be using two different types of enzymes. Dun, dun, dun. The first enzyme I'm going to draw kind of as like a Pac-Man but in the shape of a box. This enzyme is called a restriction enzyme. Restriction enzymes, what their function is that they cut DNA at specific sequences. And then the other enzyme I'm going to draw, I'm going to draw him just as a circular Pac-Man. And this other enzyme is called ligase. And ligase is kind of like glue. It pieces back together DNA that has been cut. It kind of brings them back together. You should remember this from 10th grade. You actually learned about restriction enzymes and ligase. So restriction enzymes do the cutting, and ligase acts as glue. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video right here, and I will pick the video back up in a separate video just because I do have a 15-minute time limit. So thanks for watching this one. Make sure you move into video number 2.